G'day fellas and welcome to Beyond All Reason. Today we are watching some of the best players in the world face off on, well, Season 3 changes, a brand new ladder, all that good stuff. Now, I've actually been sent this game. Somebody messaged me and said, hey, this is a really good game. Make sure you check it out. So we're in here, we're having a look, we're seeing how it goes. Because these players are playing with the brand new Season 3 Easy Tax changes. I should say, it's not necessarily Season 3, they're mutually exclusive, but basically, it's been released as part of Season 3. And look, things are going really well on it. So we'll talk more about that a little bit later. Let's introduce our team captains for today, because as you'll see, we have got an absolutely stacked lobby. In the north of the map, in the color red, playing as Armada. 68 OS, 6 chevrons, we've got Clankosaurus, previously known as Chevrolet. And in the south of the map, in the color blue, playing as Cortex. We've got Ironstorm, 59 OS, 6 chevrons as well. And of course, they'll be leading a pack of very skilled individuals. I think 30 OS, which is the lowest OS that we've got in here, is probably like top 3% players. So this is a very good lobby. One of the things to note is very often you see the lowest level players going in the canyon on a map like this. And despite that, these are still incredibly good players. Like, I would love a game where I've got these guys in my canyon. You know it's going to be a strong canyon, let's just put it that way. Anyway, hopefully you're enjoying this game, this cast. If you are, I'm going to ask you, go ahead, leave a like down on the video below. It really helps out with the traction of the Beyond All Reason videos. And let's get into it. The music's getting a little bit loud in my ears. I'm not sure if it's as loud in your ears. So a couple of things just to get out of the gate. We're going to follow along with Clankosaurus early on here. He's opened up with his standard build order. So we'll ride on board with him specifically. As you can see, he's starting to push up with the two construction bots flanked by the commander, or the commander flanked by the two construction bots, opened up with a couple of ticks as well, just to prevent any early leaks. Now, another thing you'll notice is, obviously we're in full screen here, but I've recently reinstalled Windows on my computer, which I like to do pretty much every year, ideally a little bit more than that. But when I did, all of a sudden, we've now got full screen borderless. Take a look at this. I can Alt-Tab, and I can tab back in. You can actually see it. It's technically not full screen borderless. I don't know what happened, but basically, if you have a look here when I Alt-Tab, can you see how at the top there's that little, the status bar for Beyond All Reason? So basically, at the very top here, the status bar still exists, except I can't see it and you can't see it. So, look, I'm happy. I can see everything full screen. You can see everything full screen. That's essentially it. So I'm a happy little camper. So, interestingly, we've got our two team captains who we're going to be following along with today. Clankosaurus obviously playing on the front, compared to his opponent Ironstorm, who's playing on the back line. Now, obviously, if you've watched this channel before, you will know that we absolutely love the back line. So we're not going to be paying too much attention to Ironstorm and what he's doing, the minutiae of it. We will just be having a look at the more broad picture on what his plan is. The fact that he's playing core, that we're probably going to see some Quakers out of him here. He's taken the 7th mechs. These are all good things that we would expect. Now, let's talk a little bit about the changes. What specifically am I talking about when it comes to the fact that, you know, these changes have come through? So obviously we've got the Season 3 changes that have arrived. I just realized I've got ping volume turned up. Let me turn down the ping volume. Oh, that's not what I want. Let's try again. Let's try here. Volume, chat message, map point marker. There we go. We'll turn that right down. Then that way we don't have to hear those pings constantly going off. Oh gosh, those pings are still going, aren't they? Let me turn it down a little bit more. Okay, hold on. Wait, did it not work? Okay, let's try that. Hopefully that works it. So one of the big changes is that metal that you send to an ally, or energy that you send to an ally, or that you overflow to an ally, is now taxed. That means that they only get 70% of it. So if you send through 100, they'll only get 70. And that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't sling metal to an opponent. It just means that it's less impactful. And naturally, because it's less impactful, people are less likely to do it. Previously, there was no consequence of just instantly sending all of your metal over to your allies. We've got a nice little push coming in through here from Surya. I'm just going to call him Surya. That's probably how it's pronounced. Bit of a push coming in, some pawns together with some grunts breaking through. I think he's managed to get a couple of units shared with him, but unfortunately, it looks like it's going to be all shut down before the attack reaches the main base. Meanwhile, back towards the front, we're right on board with Clankosaurus. He's got, of course, we've seen this. We see this from a lot of the top players. Mizuki is doing the exact same thing. These guys, they love to play their fronts on glitters, and this is what we always see them do. They start out with just a single Centurion. It's really, really powerful, and the reason why is because it's got a lot of range, and it's also very affordable when it comes to repairing. It means that you can basically take damage with this unit, repair it with the commander, and it doesn't die, essentially, unless it gets degunned or unless you misplace it, as we do have our first commanders going down in the back of the red base. Meanwhile, towards the south, it looks like we've got Ironstorm, who is working towards that T2 lab. You can see, have a look at the timing here on this lab as well. 5 minutes and 10 seconds. Now, this is part of those changes because you can't send, or sorry, you can send metal to an ally. It's just that you're less likely to do it because it's taxed. And because of that, it means that we start to see slower T2. Now, we do have a pretty quick T2 lab that's come in through for Super Squid. We've also got some transports that have been shared out with him, so I'm going to be expecting to see a Fat Boy down here on the front. But what's interesting is the timing on this. We can see that with this T2 that's coming out now, it's only 5 minutes 30 that he's getting this up. Now, to be fair, he's probably got a couple of solars that he could have eaten. He's got a lot of extra metal, a lot of excess metal that he could have eaten in those solars. But don't be surprised in the previous patch if you saw Fat Boys coming onto the front in the next 10 seconds. At the 6 minute mark is when you used to see it. And this is part of what has made these changes so damn good. Because sending metal to an ally is now a little bit, well, it's not as effective. People don't do it. And because they don't do it, it means T2 is delayed. And because T2 is delayed, it means that you've got more time. So very often I would see Mizuki previously looking to try and get that jammer up, but here he's got more time to fight on the front. And one of the great things that I've noticed about playing with these easy sharing taxes, which is a mod option, I'll leave a link in the description if you want to find out more, is that games just tend to be better. They're a lot better because one of the easiest ways that you would see games won is if one team was making units and the other team wasn't. Here, and what do I mean by that? Units at tech. So if we look towards the other side, we've got some constructors that are coming out. Is that a Quaker? It looks like that's a Quaker that's flying out over towards the front. So we've got units that are coming out, but have a look at the timing here. We're at the 7 minute mark, and these guys are only flying in right now. That means that we've had plenty of time to build up. If we look at Mizuki as an example, he's got two E-storages. Wind is not very good at the moment for him, so it means that he's not really got the energy in the bank to degun, but he's got a lot more time. And that means more time to prepare, more time to react, and it means that when that Fat Boy arrives, it's not going to have anywhere near the impact. Let me turn that music down just a little bit again. It's not going to have anywhere near the impact. You can see the Fat Boy has been dropped off. Super Squid not dropping it right off on the front. He's now going to share it over. You can see he's shared two Fat Boys off to his front liner here. Is there a second Fat Boy? It looks like there's just the one at the moment. But it means that at the 7 minute mark when this comes in, Mizuki now, you'll see his reaction from it. Now we've got Quakers that are on the other side. I don't know exactly where those Quakers are. There it is, just the single Quaker coming out. Clankosaurus going to be trying to hold the front here on the defense. He's got a number of construction turrets back here, 3 construction turrets, which is incredibly powerful because it allows you just to repair. The trouble is they're repairing a unit that has a lot of build power, and that's the commander. And because of that, he's just kind of getting rinsed in here. Now Fat Boy is starting to fire off towards the front. Immediate reaction on the side of Mizuki here is to start building up that jammer. Gets the jammer out. You can see it's going to jam out to this point. Keep in mind that with your jammers, that unfortunately they don't jam all the way to the edge here. It's only about here that you can stand with the commander before you actually get revealed. So it means that that you do have to be cautious about how you position. Commander actually going down over on that western front there. Von Comet able to take out the commander of Tichy. Leon Tichy, I think that's pronounced. Meanwhile, we can see the counter jammers now going to be coming up as well for both players. So everyone looking to try and get those jammers up now that T2 is on the front. Very important. Just stops them from having that ability to fire towards... Thank you, lovely lady. We should probably turn her off, the announcer. But you can see right here, we've got Mizuki really meeting a decent match here in this game. Commander's going to be moving forward. Now, does that get spotted out? You can see that it was spotted out for a brief second right there. This is the consequence of the jammer. So you can kind of tell where the jammer is here. So it's somewhere in this region just because these units are visible. So it's somewhere, well, we can actually see exactly where it is. And so once you know where the jammer is, that allows you to put on a little bit more pressure, but you've got to be very careful doing that because there is always the risk of the degun. So always wanting to try and play around that. Let's check in with our backlines because as we can see, there's a lot of metal that's starting to stack up. It looks like scaling of energy and BP hasn't gone particularly well here for our yellow player. Clankosaurus, how's he doing with regard to his scaling? He's doing relatively well. Quite a bit of wind that's out here. Backline, how many T2 mexes have we got up? Not a huge amount, just the one for the moment. How many T2 cons have we got out? Looks like we've got 6 T2 constructors, 7 T2 constructors out. Meanwhile, on the south side, how are we doing on the T2 constructors? We've got some here. Only the 4 T2 constructors that have come out on the south side, and just the 1 advanced metal extractor as well. So both players going into the single AMAX. I definitely think that's a smart call. If you've got the spare metal and spare energy to do it right after you get that lab up, the sooner you can get it, the better. And look at this Mizuki trying to get a second jammer up, really being aggressive and pushing on that Fat Boy. And you can see the beautiful control that's coming out from Surya here with the Fat Boy, just making sure he doesn't overextend. And this is really key. He knows that Mizuki is a great player and that Mizuki's going to be looking for every opportunity to get a D-gun on this Fat Boy. So he needs to make sure that that doesn't happen. By the same token, we can start to see that Fat Boy from Clankosaurus beginning to put the work in. The one key difference here is between these two front players, Mizuki, OS52, this is his bread and butter. He knows exactly how to play this part of the game. Whereas his opponents over on this lane, for Clankosaurus, Splendish, as well as Minnow, while they're very good players, keep in mind that Clankosaurus outranks them both, even if you add their OS together. It is incredible how much, to say, one of the things that I always try and hammer home, whenever you're thinking about Beyond All Reason, is, and it's very much like League of Legends in this way, if you want to climb, if you want to improve your ranking, you have to be the difference. You can't be relying on other people, and you definitely can't be a passive player. You can be a firefighter, which means that if you see someone pushing through here, that you come in and you deal with that. Or if there's a lane that's breaking through, you send shurikens and go and deal with that. So you can definitely be a firefighter, but being passive is not the right move. You need to be making plays 100% if you want to get better, or if you want to improve in that OS. And so the burden here is on both Clankosaurus as well as Ironstorm to find ways to win this game. Or at least from Ironstorm's perspective, to be a firefighter at the right time. Little bit of a D-gun potentially coming in on the T2 Lav as Fra moving forward. Beautiful block right there, forcing his opponent to control D. Doesn't get the D-gun off. The T2 vehicle plant still alive. A huge amount of units over here. Now I'm going to look to try and flank, and naturally you'll see everybody collapse on this position. This is 2,500 metal that's on the ground, so you really want to try sucking this up. It's a huge amount of metal that you can start turning into units, and naturally Clankosaurus begins moving over here, abandons his front completely with his units, sends all the pawns over towards this east side, and part of the... Oh my god, look how low that is. Is there anything in here that can really threaten it? It doesn't look like it. It should be okay. Yes, very close, Fight War. I've got to agree with you. Very, very close here. He is still holding the front. He's got a lot of construction turrets out here that's going to be able to repair the Fat Boy, doing a wonderful job with the Fat Boy. And remember, as long as you've got dots on your map to shoot at with your Fat Boy, you're going to be fine. And you can actually see he's spotted out the commander. He knows where the commander is, so he's just targeting that down, making sure he's constantly controlling it. Splendish going to try and find a D-gun on the Centurion, not able to do it right there. Behind the lines, we start to see Clankosaurus is beginning to break through. Meanwhile, over on the other side, I like it. I like it, Von Comet. I like it. We got more commanders going down absolutely everywhere across this front. 4 commanders for the red team, 5 commanders for the blue team in the south. Let's check in and see how the scaling is going for these players, as our air player Neo on the south here gets his first fusion up. We have recently unmuted Neo, so Neo, shout out, mate. I don't remember why we muted you in the first place, but yeah. You know, Season 3, I've just said I'm just going to unmute everybody that I previously muted, unless I can remember why I muted them. So I think that's a decent motto to have. Have a look at this, though. Sneaky Pete's moving up for Mizuki. Mizuki trying to get through. He's trying to find a way in, and look at all the constructors up here with the T2 vehicle. We've now got the Persecutor coming up on the front line. That's going to be a massive problem for the enemy team. Clankosaurus, how's he finding a way through here? Commander goes down on the front. Another opportunity for some reclaim. Speaking of reclaim, you can see there's still plenty over here for Fra. He's also been handed off another commander. I don't suspect he rezzed this, though I wouldn't be surprised judging by the amount of res bots he's got in here, but it does take a long time. All right, Persecutor is up. Now going to start firing immediately at that Sneaky Pete. Sneaky Pete's down. That gives him a whole bunch of dots to start firing at if we ride on board with Mizuki. And hold on a minute. We've got a little bit of a breakthrough from the poop player. Now, whenever we say the poop player, that's a way of saying like the bottom ranked players, like the bottom 2, bottom 3 is sort of your poop player. But have a look at this. It's mainly because he's brown. But this is a massive breakthrough, so really well recognized here from our brown player to recycle these troops, not recycle, but reroute these troops down towards this southern position, and he has found a way through. Clankosaurus has obviously opened up the front door, and then naturally Tachi has just come through and found a little bit more space. Now we start to see even more pressure being put in over on this canyon. This is normally where things fold, and often because the best player, or not the best player, but one of the best players normally goes in this position here, AC anti-canyon. So you can see Keller over on this side, OS 52 up against the two lower OS players, and the same thing has happened here, where we've got two of the bottom four on this side. But naturally, another thing that happens is after Rainbow gets eaten alive, then you've got all of these ways that you can get in. We've now got Von Comet looking to start running a little bit of a screen here as well for the canyon. Scrolling back in, the Fatboy continues to move up. Commander up here as well, so he can offer that build power, that repair if he needs to. Plenty of pawns as well. Let's check in with how he's scaling behind the scenes. A lot of wind, a lot of storage. How much storage are we talking here for Clankosaurus? He's looking very good. 19k storage. I love it. It's just one of those things. It just feels so incredibly... What is that Quaker doing? Somebody get rid of that Quaker. That Quaker was just having a field day. I don't know exactly what that one was, but we got a couple of Jags now looking to come through. Beautiful Control D. Oh my lord, that Control D coming out right there from Setme. So remember that when you've got a Fiend, when it dies, it explodes, and its explosion is significantly larger if you control D. I think it's Control B, actually. Control D back in TA, but it self-destruct, basically. It makes it like 6 times bigger than the explosion, and naturally more damage, larger AoE, and now he's going to be able to hold off all this T2. I tell you what, if those had got through, which they absolutely would have, this could pretty much be GG at this point right here. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, we've got another push that's coming out from Keller, and this is quite common that you see, that more resources from the anti-canyon player will eventually build up and will roll over into this position. And so naturally the canyons will start to fall, but we'll focus in once again on Clankosaurus. Remember that the key here, the burden here is on him to win this game for his team. There's a significant advantage when it comes to the amount of OS he's got. Though I'll be honest, like I don't know if it necessarily feels fair. You've got a 68 and a 58 and they're fighting up against a 59 and a 52. Definitely a bit outmatched here. We'll say that right now. How does Ironstorm potentially bring this back in the game? He's getting the rest of his T2 maxes up. So we've got all 7 T2 max is about to come up at the 16-minute mark, so definitely when it comes to his scaling, he's not particularly well scaled at this point. That's a lot of build power. What are you planning to do with all that build power? Because there's only so much we could do with build power. I almost feel like we're overbuilding build power a little bit right here. In fact, we definitely are, but that's okay. That's okay. We'll keep, as I said, we're not going to pay attention to the minutia of it. We'll just more look at the broad things. So keep in mind, on the front, Clankosaurus has got a lot of pawns, and these pawns are just so incredible for the flexibility that they offer. We saw them earlier, how they were covering in this lane, how they've been able to break through, how they've been able to cause havoc across this map, and that's one of the great things. They're also able to run screens for any T2 units that you're inevitably going to have, as now we start to see the Jaguars beginning to come out on the front. Now, over on this eastern, or this western side, we have seen Mizuki do quite a decent job in his lane. So he was up against multiple Fatboys, up against 2 Fatboys. I didn't see any units handed to him, and yet he still somehow managed to hold. And not only that, but he's managed to hold, and now he's managed to push back. And this is up against a player that he's got 6 OS down on, which is pretty impressive. I mean, at this level, like, the difference between 52 and 58 is probably less than 1%. When I say that, I mean, like, skill difference. Like, I'd much rather have the 52 than the 58, just because that's 6 extra OS on my team somewhere else that we could potentially have. And that could make a big difference. Like, the difference between OS 30 and 24 is massive. The difference between 52 and 58, I would say, is very, very small. Anyway, quite a nice little opening that's starting to come here. Interestingly, we see ambassadors being built up here. Now, you don't typically see a lot of these, but these are actually quite smart in defense, especially when you've lost the front like this, because they basically allow you just to constantly hit on the edge of their on the edge of their range, and it just forces your opponent to just be very careful. As you can see, more shots coming through, quite a bit of damage. If that hits a Starlight on the head, it's going to be a dead Starlight. Allows you to engage with those Starlights without directly engaging. Look at that big shot that's coming in. Of course, the only downside is that they take 17.72 seconds to reload. And now on the other side of the map, Clankosaurus with the Rattlesnake has been put up. Huge mass. We also see the bulls in. What's he looking like? 100 metal a second at the moment for his economy. Is that the biggest economy in the game? It looks like it could be. No, Mizuki 122. Also Keller on 118. So they've started their own little scale projects that have come through here. So they've got plenty of metal that's back there. Anybody else that's that big? Yeah, Keller's on 108, 121. So Mizuki definitely doing a very good job on scaling. And look at Mizuki also with the ambassadors out. This is kind of why how we're starting to see more and more of these ambassadors coming out, because we're not only going to be seeing them from these players this game. Undoubtedly, we will see them over in the canyons. Canyons are where you typically see these units, as now we see Keller also bringing them through. A lot of air coming out from Neo here. One of his favorite positions. He loves to play in air, and we've got a potential breakthrough coming in right now. Look at the amount of units that are in here for Clankosaurus. Has to be very careful about the commander. Needs to make sure he finds the commander, locates that commander, especially in this push. And he does actually see the commander down here, so he can be very careful about it. And I don't know whether or not he's gone AFK or what's happened here. Okay, there we go. He's woken them all up, but you've got to be so careful when you just isolate or leave your units right there. But this is quite a potent push, because we've got the tanks that are in here, the stouts that are going to easily be able to tank up a lot of the damage. Comes through, potentially looking to snipe out that Scorpion before it actually gets up. Does take a little bit of damage before inevitably getting up. Commander is on the front here. He looked for the bomb, wasn't able to find it. We've got a couple of Finches making their way through as well. And for the most part, everything looks pretty even. Stevens at the 20-minute mark. If you had to give an advantage to one side, you'd probably give it to orange, or you'd give it to the red team. Have a look at this. T3 coming out. T3 is always so dangerous to deal with, especially through the canyon. The only real way to deal with this is a commander. That's realistically it. We've got a bit of spec chat that's happening right now. I'm kind of tempted just to turn it off. Aphis, single Aphis in the back right now for Ironstorm. Let's check in on the enemy tech. No Aphis up on the side for Super Squid just yet, so definitely quite a bit behind. How many? We've got the 1-2 fusions for him, and it was a straight Aphis that Ironstorm went for, so no fusions in between that. Potential big push coming out as well. Look at the amount of value that this Persecutor has been able to create, just completely locking down this area. But now that push coming through the canyon, typically something that you it's inevitable, right? This push through the canyon is inevitable. It's just a matter of time as to when it actually happens. Some Sheldons trying to work down this Razorback. Razorback probably better to just back out from here. He's on very low health. You don't want to leave a wreck for your enemy to res or to reclaim. And now the T2 lab on the front here probably going to be going down. There's a lot of units in here, but Shuriken's going to be called, as well as Fight War, or sorry, as Von Comet once again running a little bit of a screen over towards this. And keep in mind, he is playing in this back pocket position. Decent eco that he's got here, but I love the fact that he's managed to flex his units away from this front line and move them over once again to cover Canyon. This is twice we've seen him do this. Now, meanwhile, towards that front position, a little bit more insulation. Look at all the beamers that are starting to come out. You know, if you ever wondered about how good the beamer is, take a look at this. OS 58, OS 68, both of them just spamming out beamers. Let there be no surprise, the beamer on the tier list is S tier. It is an absolute god of a unit. It is so incredibly powerful, just good against everything. And I think that's why people love it. It's got great range, great DPS, and just such a wonderful unit. So very, very nice to see a bit of a bombing run coming in from Neo as well. Let's see what he can find as he begins to make his way over towards that west side. Not a lot of air coming out from Go-Go Rush here. OS 37 on the back, but he does have T2 air. Huge amount of build power. 3 fusions compared to Neo, who's only on the 2 fusions. So he does have the advantage, but of course Neo going for the bombing run in favor of the greed. Makes his way towards that top side. Meanwhile, while this is happening, we've also got a big push that's coming through for Clankosaurus. He's managed to find a way in. We've got the medium tanks together with the Jags. He's going to try and go for the BP. Definitely a smart move. BP always hurts the most, and now he's going to hit it. Manages to take it all out. We do see in the end an Arbalest thrown down. Should be able to clear this up, but it's going to take a while to get back on board. Meanwhile, over towards the east side, big push coming in. Love it getting called out right here. As was that, don't tell me that. Oh my god, is he putting, he's doing scuttles to the front. Oh, look at this. He's scuttling all of these incoming units, but I don't think it's going to be enough, not with a Razorback like that. And now finally, they've broken through at the 23-minute mark. The canyon goes down. A little bit of spam coming out through the middle. Clankosaurus does finally find a way in. Keep in mind, he wasn't just banging his head against his own lane this entire game. He's looked elsewhere. And now with a Razorback in the back line, take a look at what's going to happen. Resign votes coming through here as the third best player on the team, Keller, throws up the resign vote. And this is always one of those scary moments where the team is looking at resigning and it's like, well, you've lost Canyon. You know, you're not really winning on Canyon here. You know, what ways are you actually winning this game? But we know the truth. These teams aren't that far behind. I say that. I mean, it's always hard to tell with Reclaim. I wish there was a way to tell what metal per second was without Reclaim. But Commander now moving down for Neo. He's going to be looking for some D-guns. We've also got defense coming through from Ironstorm. He's immediately... Have a look at this. Ironstorm with a massive defense right here. We've got a whole bunch of T3 that's coming out against the T3 of his opponent. Now, keep in mind, Fra has got quite a lot of resources, 165 metal coming through compared to Ironstorm, who's only on 92 at this stage. So about a 2x difference right there. And indeed, Keller has left the game. Keller thinks the game is open, so we've had the OP take come through. Ironstorm's going to take all of their bases, or all of the base. You can see it's a... this is one of those things that I don't like. I will just say that right now, and I suspect it will probably get changed. But at the moment, when you take an ally after they've left, all of their buildings get EMP'd for 30 seconds. And it's one of those things that I really don't like. I think also their units get EMP'd as well. And it's like, if your units are fighting on the front, they all get EMP'd for 30 seconds. Like, I don't know, man. Doesn't seem that good. Anyway. What's interesting here is that when it comes to, like, we've talked a lot about Clankosaurus and about the fact that he's finally found a way through here, and he's managed to take out 2 players with the assistance of Fra. But one of the things to note is that Ironstorm has an obligation to firefight for his team. Oh my god, what was that? I got no idea what that was, but that was not good. We've now essentially... Oh my god! Oh, the Vanguard from Fra is up here. He's managed to take out 3 players now. Why I get killed? Yeah, I mean, you don't normally see a Vanguard up this far. Because you noob. Minnow hitting the nail on the head right there for Neo. So let's ride on board with Ironstorm a bit, because we've been talking a lot about Clankosaurus at this stage of this game. Commander going down. Oh, this is not looking good. It looks like it could be GG right here. So one of the decisions you often have to make as a backline, as a tech player, as an eco player, is when should I start making units? And you can see there's been quite a bit of T3 that's been made here. We've got Shivas that have come out. We've also got the Karganaths that are coming out, and they're going to look to try and clear out this Vanguard before it does any more damage. You could see he's looking to try and hit these energy converters. If he can hit the energy converters, that would have been all of this base blown up. No more T3, at least for the moment. He's have to rebuild BP. Then he'd have to rebuild his energy converters, set him behind probably about 3 minutes. But we've got more units out over on this east side. You can see that there's a bit of a chat going on right now, so apologies, because it can be a bit distracting. And now we've got the air player. Is this Neo? Neo's shared everything with Ironstorm. So Ironstorm has now taken on 2 bases. So keep in mind, we're at the 25-minute mark here. This was quite a bit delayed. I'm not necessarily going to say it's an OP take, because at this point, you'd still much rather have the player just for the extra APM that they've got, rather than the resources over to that one player. But now, quite a bit of T3 has started to build up here. He's up to 240 metal a second. And this is one of those stages here, after you've lost the canyon, where you need to make a decision. Am I going to look for a counter push here, or am I going to look to try and scale? And I think counter push is definitely the right call. If you try and scale, you're up against 8 opponents, and they've all still got their bases, where if you go for a counter push, there's the potential that you can knock somebody out, maybe knock out a second player, as we've got more Razorbacks coming through. And meanwhile, over towards the front, you can see Clankosaurus with all those units. So he's going to do the right thing, and you could absolutely invest in more Aphis at this point, but he's just not going to even bother. Razorback now coming through full health Razorback. There we go. And beautiful spacing here by Mizuki. Look, Mizuki is a gamer. He's played this game before. He knows that when the Razorbacks come through at 27 minutes, you want to have your fusions all spread up. And that's exactly what he's got here. Makes it a little bit harder to take them out. Makes it less likely that they chain. But he's still able to get 3 of them. Probably going to get 4 of them. Potentially going to get 5 of them as he now looks to take out the BP. Potentially the EMP, focusing it down. And finally that Razorback goes down. Everything has fallen for this team. Let's take a look at the difference between this. 1,000 metal versus 479. So remember, like, what I was saying about the counter push? This is right here where you would go for that counter push. There's a little bit of spam that's coming through, but this position, Fra should be feeling really safe right now. He would most likely be scaling, and that's exactly what he's doing. He's just killed his lanes, and so naturally, as long as everybody keeps playing the game, he's going to be fine. So we'll ride on board now, because Setmi's going to be over here. Keep in mind, Setmi was the original player in this position. I love, can I just say that I love that this player is the one that left despite this lane losing. And this is one of the things that I think will... Oh, we had a little bit of a bomb come through back over here on this side. Something, Nemesis debris? What is a Nemesis? Isn't a Nemesis a T... Yeah, isn't it this thing? Yeah, I don't know exactly what got through here. Something got through here, but it's gone down. Anyway, we've got a fair bit of T3. Let's ride on board with Setmi here. And take a look how many units he's got. So you can see the amount of units that Ironstorm has made for Setmi here. So if we look at the number, you've got 7 Kargs, 7 Shivas, which is just the perfect number of units to go for a counter push right now. There are quite a number of ticks that are making their way through, but you're going to need some big defense here. So normally you'd be looking at something like the Tachyon, the Pulsar, to try and hold this. We do have a Titan that's going to be coming up, which is definitely a little bit ballsy here from Fra. He's also been scaling behind this, so we see the Aphis coming up. But I definitely think it was a smart decision to be continuing making that T3, rather than scaling. Because in my mind, I would have been absolutely making more APHIS. Like, I need to climb. And you can see, look at the difference here. You got double the metal that's coming through from the red team versus the blue team. Blue team doing a little bit of reclaim here. Now, a bit of a push coming in. Clankosaurus, once again, keep in mind, throughout this game, he has been the player that is looking to try and carry this game. But now Ironstorm handing over the units to Setme. He is now going to put that shoe on the other foot and say, hey, it's my turn. Setme going to go for a counter push up along the inside here. D-Guns come out. Decent shots. He's able to take out 2. That's going to be a 3rd one. Clankosaurus Commander about to go down. Karganath still alive, as well as a couple of Shivas as they slow walk up the east side of the map. They need to take out the T3. And you can see it's coming up, but it's going to be so slow. Another 27 seconds. They got plenty of time. More units also coming through as the hailstorms, we got it right, break their way through. Over on the west side, everything is holding. These poops have done very well to hold the canyon. And just remember, when I say poop, let's clear that. When I say poop, I'm not necessarily I'm not disparaging them. It's just the easiest way. Like, the poop's in the canyon. That's the way I think about it. Now coming through, big counter push that's in the back of the base. This could be problematic. We do have the APHIS that's up on this position in a very safe spot. Sometimes you'll even see players building up their production on this position. No defenses on the front line, and it means now the Karganath together with the Shivas doing absolute work. 49 kills on this Shiva. About to get a whole lot more if he can make a connection with all of these. Oh, there they go right there. He's up to 51 now. It doesn't include the chain. The Karganath's on very low health, going to make their way up. And meanwhile, over towards the front, Mizuki also coming out, doing absolute work with Von Comet together. Syria also managed. Oh, you can see EMP, the EMP at the front, and now we've got people leaving. We've got Fra who's left over on this side. A single Karganath makes its way onto the hill here. We also keep in mind it's got the anti-air, so it should be able to eat through the shurikens or take out the shurikens. So the pulsar was actually taken out by the EMP, and now on top of the hill. We've got a couple of, a couple of goodbyes. Yikes, he's going to get it. I think he's going to get it too. Look at this. He's sitting on top. You can't actually take it out. Oh my God, look at the damage that's coming through. He's going to get the APHIS. Gamer, indeed gamer. Meanwhile, back towards the front. I mean, we haven't really highlighted too much, but you can see the EMP coming out. And I got to tell you, man, I've been dealing with EMPs a lot lately. The higher your OS gets, the more EMPs you see. They're so annoying, bro. God, I hate EMPs. There's no counter to them, like, other than killing them. But it's like the range 3650, like, he could literally EMP the entirety of this map, almost the entirety of this map. If you put them here, like, this is the sweet spot. You could hit literally everywhere. It's crazy the value that you can get from them. So yeah. Meanwhile, we got more units towards the front. Slowly, things are being equalized. So Fra on the east, probably not making enough defenses, had obviously wiped out his opponents, and now the OP take is really starting to come online for Ironstorm. He's managed to take out. Now, keep in mind, this is not really an OP take. This is like, you're losing an OS 52 player to give them to an OS 59 player. Nah, that's not OP. But the fact that Neo did give away his base, I mean, there wasn't really much there. It's definitely built up now. The main thing are those mexes. And I wouldn't say that the consequence of how this game has gone is because of the OP take, but rather just from the fact that Ironstorm did the right thing and kept the pedal to the metal. He's only building his second APHIS now, 32 minutes into this game. You know, it's quite funny. Often I will play games as, we've had Clankosaurus at the 32-minute mark leave the game. But yeah, I've had people that have like said to me, oh, you're a terrible tech, you've only got one APHIS at 20 minutes. It's like, well, there's a bit more to tech than building APHIS, I promise you that. I did find that out in quite, well, yeah, let's just say, the better you get, the more you realize that teching is more about units than it is about APHISes. Even though I'd love it to be about APHISes. Bit of a push coming through here. A lot of units on the side of Syria. Plenty of beamers. We've got Beamer Valley over here. There's so many damn beamers. I love the way that he's got them all spread out. But we've got, once again, Razorbacks. Now T3 going to look to try and go up this east side. And what looked like almost certain death earlier in the game with our red team making an amazing push down towards that eastern flank. Somehow, some way, they will inevitably be pushed back, by the units of Ironstorm. And now Mizuki says, hey, it's okay, brother. I'll take the reins from here. The Razorbacks coming out over towards that east side. You've got to be so careful with these Razorbacks. If these Razorbacks get into the back line, it's basically GG. And especially because you've already got a dead player here. You've got someone, like, normally the way that your brain thinks is, I'm looking after this lane, and my ally's looking after this lane, and he's looking after here. Well, this lane is dead. This lane has died, or, like, has you know, left the game. And now there's an opening, because the person that was meant to hold this is no longer playing, but your brain forgets that. Your brain doesn't see that. And so naturally, it's going to take time. You can see we've got Razorbacks here. We've got plenty of Razorbacks that should have been able to hold this position, but they've managed to make their way past. And unfortunately, the Razorbacks do get through. More players leaving on the side of the red team. And despite this, we see the green team looking to now push through and end it. And I just want to say, like, this has been 34 minutes of ups and downs. But the games, like, don't get me wrong, there were good games and there were bad games when sharing was a thing. And sharing is still a thing here, but it's just that it's less impactful. And because it's less impactful, it means that you get better games. And while these games did happen before, they were a lot rarer. Now it feels like every single game that I'm playing with these sharing tacks is like this. It goes for at least 20 minutes. You've got incredible games that happen where there's the potential for things like this to happen. And the reason why this is happening is because our front line managed to survive. The fact that we didn't have that fat boy a minute earlier gave time here for Mizuki to come online. And of course, Mizuki does Mizuki things in the end. Together with Ironstorm, they're able to carry through this game. A whole bunch of air now coming out as well, and the resign vote coming up on the other side. And I think that's going to be all she wrote here at the 34-minute mark, as we can see an incredible performance from our blue team. And the lessons for today, I would say, even if things don't look good, even if it looks like your team is dying, don't give up. Don't give up. It's okay. Even the player that actually died right here, Set Me, he died, but he stayed in the game. And he asked for units. He was given units by the backline, freeing up the backline's APM so he can focus on doing macro things or doing other things or focusing elsewhere. And now that allows him to do that. And the fact that you've got a really good player, not to shit talk, but you've got a really good player who leaves the game, it would have been so nice for Ironstorm to be able to focus on other things rather than have to focus on this over here. But he's had to do that. And of course, I mean, at this stage, I called GG. I didn't call GG earlier, but it definitely looked like GG a little bit earlier when they broke through. Now we've got to... Is there another counter push that's coming out? Is there another counter push that's coming out right now? No, there's not. No, there's not. He's left the game. Surya leaving the game as the inevitable grunt and incisor mass makes its way through to towards the storages. And you know, once the storages go, the storages chain, by the way. Did you know that? Check that out. They do a lot. They're wonderful on defense. In the end... It was a well-fought game by Ironstorm, and I think really never doubted for a second. Ironstorm, GG, my friend. So I honestly think the highlight, at least for me here, was the fact that obviously Ironstorm, he didn't make it to the ultra late game with a whole bunch of APHs. He just made units, and those units that he handed off to his ally who didn't leave were, in my mind, the reason why they won. If Fra had managed to get this Titan up, if Fra had managed to hold this position, if there had been a commander here that hadn't died a little bit earlier on, and it had managed to survive. Remember that those two commanders went down right here when he was blocking the T2 lab. If that commander was still alive, or if he'd res that commander and kept that commander, he could have degunned the majority of that T3 that came through. But that T3 was responsible for this game. The T3 resulted in ultimately Fra leaving, but it also resulted in his economy going. It resulted in quite a bit of damage towards the back, and it opened up a gaping wound that inevitably was the kill shot for the blue team. In the end, though, Ironstorm reigns victorious. Clankosaurus tapping out, ladies and gentlemen. Hopefully you've enjoyed this casted game, and we'll catch you in the next one. Goodbye.